Millersville about 1.5 inches, Harrisburg about an inch and a half of snow, and of course on top of that we got that sleet. Then we got a little bit of freezing rain on top of that, so that's a lot of the slush. The more busy traveled roads, they're actually just mainly wet, and the good news is as we go through the overnight, temperatures are probably going to bump up another degree or two, so I don't really see any refreezing on the roads, which of course is good news. And you see this little bush here. Plants are a good spot to look at to see if there's any ice actually accumulating, and there's no ice on any of these leaves, so that's a good thing. But obviously the slush that fell earlier today still hasn't cleared the sidewalk, even though it's now raining. And of course, as you pack the slush down, it does get pretty slippery. Now, on some of the roads that are not traveled very much, certainly the secondary roads, could see some packed slush on there, which should keep things slick. But I do think things will improve as we go deeper into the evening, as we see more rain, because it's just rain from here on out. We're not going to switch back to snow or anything. And then as we bump up into the mid-30s, we should start to continue to see that snow melt along the roads.
Yeah, because what's interesting kind of is that the rain is kind of helping clear the roadways even. Is that right? Kind of explain
Yeah,
that.
and tomorrow when we get into the 40s, even pushing 50, all this stuff is just going to melt like that. I mean, once you start getting into the 40s with rain, you'd be surprised how fast snow disappears. So we're not looking at any threat for icy roads tomorrow. It's still obviously use caution, because tomorrow morning still could see a few slushy areas, where most of it was really this afternoon when we got a number of those accidents that were being reported. And then we had PennDOT also went back to putting the normal speed limits on the interstate. So that's good news as well. We don't see any of those speed restrictions anymore. You still obviously want to not drive over the speed limit, nor should you ever, but those speed restrictions have been lifted, because we're starting to see some improvement on many of the area roadways.
Yeah, I mean, I saw a lot of plow trucks out, salt trucks out there. They were really working the roads earlier today. Even now, some of them, they look like they're on standby. I saw one even driving up not too long ago. But this is not the only day. I mean, you are also tracking another possible system coming in the coming days. Do you think we could see more snow with that, less snow with that?
So there's funny, because a lot of people are like, we're talking about the system right now, but it's like, oh, well, what about that system for the middle part of the week? And it's certainly getting more attention. If you've been on social media, you've probably seen a whole bunch of snow maps talking about it. But yeah, that one would be accumulating snow. We wouldn't be dealing with any sort of mixed precipitation. So that midweek storm several days away from now, Wednesday night into Thursday, pretty straightforward in terms of the fact that we're just going to see snow. We're not going to see any of this icy mess. Ice is obviously the worst. Remember last Saturday when we got that freezing rain? I mean, that was off the charts. It's super slippery. We saw a little bit of that today, but fortunately now things are continuing to improve across the area. And I keep looking, because it sounds like it's sleet hitting my jacket, but yeah, it's just real small raindrops. So it's good that we've now switched over to just rain, and that's where we're going to remain pretty much this point forward.
Yeah, and of course, so you definitely still want to, be careful if you choose to drive. Watch out for slippery spots on the roadway with this slushy mess out here right now. But also tomorrow is a weather watch day within itself because of the strong winds.
Yeah, so we're going to go from one hazard right to the other. I can't seem to catch a break here. But yeah, tomorrow we could see parts of the area climb well into the 50s. We're going to get more wind whip showers, maybe even a rumble of thunder. And then the winds, we could be looking at gusts over 50 miles an hour. So that's a threat we don't usually see very often throughout the year. I mean, usually we see a handful of days where we're getting that wind gust. But certainly tomorrow, as you're driving on the interstates, especially over the ridge tops, we're looking at 50, potentially even 60 mile an hour wind gusts. So that when you're in conditions like that, you don't want to pass semi trucks. I mean, when you've been driving by one on a windy day, you can just see the thing kind of swaying. So you don't want to pass in situations like that. And remember, 10 and 2 on the wheel.
Yes, of course, 10 and 2. Yeah. But of course, right now, I mean, you did point out the leaves earlier. I mean, is this considered wet snow, dry snow?
So this is snow, and then it was compacted by some of the sleet and the rain. So this is just that really ugly slush, very easy to compact. And what's on here, this is just from the snow that got compacted on this bush. But when you actually feel the leaves, when you even look at the lights, it's kind of hard to see. You don't see that glistening on the branches, because there hasn't been really much, if any ice accumulation. Now, I will say the high stations could be looking at a minor glaze. Of course, we're not up there. We're at a lower elevation here along the river. But certainly once you get higher up, I'd say 1,200 feet, maybe a little higher, like Peters Mountain, for instance, which is just north of here. Yeah, they could have a little bit more in the way of substantial icing. So be careful if you're going up and down those hills and those ridges, because conditions up there could be a little more slippery than what we're seeing down here in the valley.
Yeah, I mean, even like you said, just those roadways that aren't really traveled on a lot, you definitely want to be careful right there, because obviously this roadway right here, I mean, just take a look at it. Really, you can't even tell that there was anything on it. I mean, it looks pretty clear. You see cars driving up and down here pretty much at normal speed, so it looks like traffic is going normally as it would on a regular day right now.
And the slush is also, it's much harder to clear. So some of those back roads I mean, I know an inch or two of snow doesn't sound like much, but when you compact it with sleet and rain, when you're shoveling it, I mean, that's a lot of water. It's a lot of weight. So it's not as easy to clear those spaces either. So those spots, especially sidewalks, parking lots, stuff like that, could certainly remain slush covered as we go through the overnight.
Yes, and so there's a lot to look out for in the coming days. Make sure you just go ahead and download our CBS 21 app so you can stay up to date. Like I said again earlier, tomorrow will be a weather watch day because of that strong wind that we're supposed to be getting. You definitely want to stay tuned for what's possible in the coming days within the work week. So for now, reporting live in Harrisburg, I'm TJ Anthony. This is meteorologist Ed Russo. We'll see you tonight at 10 and 11.